something that I'm impressed by. One, you was valedictorian, right? Like your high school? Was it high school or college?
High school.
High school. Okay.
And I wasn't the valedictorian. That I know what story.
Oh, that was a joke?
I don't know. Here's what happened, man. I was a great student until senior year of high school, and then it's like one of those things where your basketball team gets out way ahead, and so they started slacking off a little bit. Like senior year, I started slacking off, and then these two other people pushed past me for the valedictorian, salutatorian positions, but I still won star student, which was like doesn't matter. But because star student gives a speech senior year, everybody just in their minds they think I was the valedictorian, but I was not.
Gotcha.
And that's why when CeeLo saw me
right
on the Paramount lot, CeeLo from Goody Mob, he was like, "Oh man, he was a valedictorian," and I'm not gonna correct him because in that moment, he was already a rap superstar, and I was getting coffee.
Right.
So
because anybody don't know, he went to school with Goody Mob, right? Or at least
sure did. Yeah, they were like 1 and 2 years older than me, but we went to high school in Atlanta, so everybody knew everybody else.
Yeah, I went to Clark Atlanta University.
Oh
yeah,
that's
where I graduated from.
That's what's up.
So this is what I wanted to know too, though, because you identify yourself as a black nerd?
I do.
Okay.
I do, yeah, I wear like a badge of pride.
That's right, and I consider myself a comedy nerd, right? So I get it.
There's all kinds of nerds. I mean, I wrote a song Black Nerd for Sherman Showcase, but really, I mean, like, I'm not every kind of nerd. Like, I'm sometimes, I think music, comedy, film, TV to a certain extent, like those kind of pop cultural things I'm into. But like, there are all kinds of, people who are into astronomy and stuff, like
right.
that's not really my cup of tea. But like, I just wanted to do an anthem for all the black people who, and I feel like it's different who consider themselves nerds, but I feel like it's also different than it used to be, because there was a time when like you would get, oh man, he Urkel, like that was a big thing, but I feel like nowadays, like people respect the nerds. They know that like all the freaking billionaires were nerds at some point for the most part. So I feel like that sort of degrading people for being nerds, it's at least in our community, has gone away a lot.
Yeah, I think so. And that's a question I was going to ask. I was going to ask, like, when you were coming up, was that a thing? Like, did you experience any type of bullying, or people just like, that's Diallo and it's all good?
Because I feel like the stereotype is that people bully the nerds, but I feel like because, especially my high school and middle school and elementary school, they were all 99% black. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like, it was just
Atlanta.
Everybody was black. I always say that there were 3 non-black kids in my high school: Tran Lee, Jorge Ramos, and Joel Blessinger.
Right.
Those are the only non-black kids in my entire high school. And I feel like as a result, just looking back, like, no, they didn't really bully me. In fact, people were like, there would be, I'm just going to use a term, there would be straight up thugs in our school who would actually stop other thugs from bullying me. They'd be like,
really?
No, leave him alone. He going to be president one day.
They'd be
like, hey, he's going to do some things. Y'all need to leave Diallo alone. So in a weird way, I had protection because people knew I wasn't trying to be anything other than what I was.
Right, because this is why I was even impressed when I thought you was valedictorian. Now I realized you was just another nigga.
I was third place, man. I was third place. It's like when someone comes in third place on American Idol, but yet they have a better career.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I actually still, it's all good.
No, because I feel like the smartest comedians are smart. Like the higher your intellect, the smarter the comedy. What you feel about that? Do you feel like there's some sort of like credence to that?
There's so many different types of smart. I actually think I can agree with you, because even if somebody's whole thing is like, oh man, he's so ignorant, he's that ignorant, like even that takes the highest level of the ignorance.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it really takes, I think all comedy kind of comes from somebody seeing the world differently, but it's also like they see it the same as us.
Right.
Like the best comedians, they're seeing it differently. I think we understand what that is.
Right.
But in a weird way, they're seeing it the same because they can pick out something that we've all seen,
right,
make a joke about it, and I guarantee every other comedian is like, oh, damn, how did I not notice that?
That's a fact.
How did I not catch that? That should have been my joke a million times. I knew there was something there, and I couldn't quite put my finger on. I think that Chappelle and Chris Rock, and like, there's just some people who like, they stay. I always say Chris Rock has always been my favorite personal comedian because half of his jokes aren't even punchlines. They're literally just him pointing out something that you kind of knew was a thing, but you didn't know how to articulate it, or you just didn't spot it.
Yes,
I just think that that's the brilliant the brilliance of a Chris Rock.
He was my favorite until Chappelle kept going. And Chappelle kept going, and he kept going, and he kept going, because I judge people like who's my favorite comedians based off of how many classic stand-up specials.
How many years?
Well, not even years, but specials. I'm like, how many classic specials do I feel like? And for a long time, I was like, damn, like Chappelle got 2 great like classics. Eddie Murphy got 2 classics. Like, but I mean, Chris Rock had 2 classics. I mean, he got Bigger and Blacker, Brain to Pain. Like, those for me are like the 2 like classics.
You know what's crazy, man? And obviously Chappelle's a whole conversation, especially these days.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
But what's interesting to me is how some people, I feel like some people get forgotten when we talk about like the success. It's easy to go from like Richard Pryor to Eddie Murphy to Martin Lawrence. I feel like we're all agreed on that succession.
Right.
And then you get to a weird period where I feel like a lot of us will go from Martin Lawrence to like Chris Rock, but I think you forget like Damon Wayans had the crown for a little bit.
I'm with you with that. Yeah.
People forget somebody else is in the 90s. I mean, like people forget about those Jamie Foxx stand-up specials.
Man.
They were huge.
Yeah, they were huge.
They were huge.
Especially I Might Need Security. Oh man.
Bruh. And then you get to the 2000s and I feel like people leave out Cat Williams. They leave out people leave out Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to forget how classic some of those specials were. So it's I'd love for somebody to like just break down like exactly this is the definitive list. But,
I mean, shit, even Sinbad had the crown for a little bit.
Exactly. People want to write him out of the book sometimes. I'm just like, Sinbad was so funny to us. You know what I mean? And nowadays I feel like the younger generation just thinks of him as that dude who was in those movies, but there was a time.
The baggy pants.
There was a time, yeah, exactly. Chris Rock said he had to put his show in the 80s because he just felt like Sinbad owned the 70s.
Damn.
That's it, because Chris Rock is actually of age. Everybody hates Chris. Should have been the 70s, but he was just like, I can't do that because that's Sinbad's territory.